Hello, guys. We are back. It's week 2 of this video podcast that we've been putting together, and we're in week 2 of this message series entitled Habits. This podcast is intended to be a extended resource for your small groups, your personal study, your study at home, prayer time or study time with a spouse or a good friend or even your family. And so I want to say thanks to those of you who liked it last week and shared it, who took time to watch, and we hope it was a blessing to you. We assume it was, since you shared it with others, and we want to encourage you to continue doing that, as we want this to be a resource for as many people as possible, not for us, not for anyone's sake, but for their sake and for the glory of God, so that they have an opportunity to maybe have a little bit of truth spoken into their life and be an encouraging word to them when they watch this. We want to remind you that this is posted every week by noon on Thursday, and so we encourage you to check out Facebook and YouTube, as that's where the podcast will be posted. And as always, we would love to meet you or say hello at Countryside Christian Church, as this is a resource based off this message series, as I said the week prior. This week we talked about, in our habit series, we talked about this truth of finding a rhythm of how is it that we live a life and develop habits of living with the Father and spending time with Him. So we talked about developing a rhythm of finding that time that works best for you, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, where you're taking time to read Scripture, pray, and just allow space for God to speak into your life. But also, as we talked about finding that rhythm, one of the things that we did talk about was the truth of this balancing act, of what it looks like to as you find that rhythm, make sure that you're in a healthy place of why you're trying to find that rhythm. Why are you trying to spend time with God? Why do you desire that? And today, for the remainder of our time, I want to talk about that second piece that we talked about, that we said if we're going to find a rhythm, if we're going to spend time with God, and then sometimes we need to get off the wire. We need to get off the high wire. And what we mean by that, and what I meant by that is that sometimes when we walk with God, we try to balance Him. We try to balance Him into our life. The way we put it this last week, and I want to put it to you today, is that God is not looking to be on your list, but rather He's looking to be Lord of your life. And as we balance Him, or try to attempt to balance Him, it really gets convoluted. And so today I want to talk real briefly just of 3 areas I feel like we really tried to balance God, right? Like we tried to fit Him into that schedule, into that rhythm, into those rhythms, rather than allowing Him to be the rhythm, and we allow everything else to flow out of that. And one of those places I think that we probably would agree that we try to integrate God into our lives rather than allowing Him to be the foundation of that is in our family. Is that I know we have 7 kids, and like the schedule fills up so quickly, as if it's not sports or activities, it's school events. If it's not school events, it's birthday parties of friends in the school. There's all these different things that are taking place, and we have to figure out, how do we take 9 people in our family and leave room for God? I want to encourage you that I've been challenged to not leave room for God, but rather don't put Him on that list, but allow Him to be Lord of that. I want to encourage you with your family that maybe it's time to start contemplating what you say no to. Is that I know it's tough, or it can be tough, but it's okay for our kids to not go to every birthday party. It's okay for our kids to not show up to every fundraising event. It's okay for our family to press pause and say, you know what, we're not going to do this activity for this season. We're going to take a year off of this sport, because it's just time to lean into God's rhythm a little bit more. I share that with you is because we're going to see from Psalm 46:10 today that it says in that scripture that God says, "Be still and know that I'm God." As we're looking to find God's rhythm in our family in these other 2 areas, I think that's the passage of scripture we keep at the forefront, is to know that in a rhythm with God, while we're in rhythm with God, there's a peace that should be coming with it. If there's not a peace that comes with it, even in tumultuous times, that maybe we have to do a check and see for our family, are we really in rhythm with God? I think the other arena that we have that is where we have to try to work God in, or we try to work God into, as well as that is our career, is the workplace. For some of us, I know that it's easy to look at the next step in our workplace and look for the next promotion. It's easy to step back and go, man, if I just did this task or that task, or I did this job or that job just a little bit better, a little bit more, maybe I'd get a raise. But I just want to encourage you that there is nothing wrong with pursuing success. In fact, God promotes us living with an excellence, but it's got to be an excellence that's focused and focused on Him, and we're filled up by Him as we pursue that excellence. And so I ask you that is in your workplace or the job that you have, are you finding fulfillment? Are you finding it that it's you fear more Mondays and look forward to more Fridays than you are more excited about the Wednesdays? If so, I'm not promoting you finding a different job. I'm promoting at you to ask the question, where is God in that space? Have you allowed God to be Lord of your life, even in the workplace? Is it maybe it's where you do take a little more work of overtime because you need to create some financial margin for your family, or maybe it's saying no to the working on the optional weekends because you're going to spend more time with your family. And so as we try to fit God into our workplace, once again, He's not wanting to be a part of it. He wants to be ahead of it. And so He's not wanting to be part of your list. He wants to be Lord. He wants to be the list. You see, if it's not our family and it's not our workplace, I think the place that is most dangerous, and this is going to sound like an oxymoron maybe, but one of the most dangerous places we try to fit God in is just in our relationship with Him. Is that we try to find time for God and call Him when we need Him. We message Him when we want Him to, metaphorically message Him when we want something from Him. But all the while, we don't have a real deep relationship with Him. I just heard a guy teach a few weeks ago, and it really jumped out to me that proximity doesn't mean discipleship. In other words, that just because you're around Jesus things, the church worship services and small groups, or reading a devotional, just because you're around Jesus doesn't mean that you're a learner of Him. And so I want to encourage you to remember that a disciple means to be a learner. And so in that space with God, let's quit trying to balance Him and balance our relationship with Him and figuring out how it is that we can fit Him in, but rather be a learner of Him. Step back and say, God, I don't want to just be around good things. I want to know your heart. So today I want to remind you that passage from Psalm 46:10 again. It says, "Be still and know that I'm God." So today, as you process through that and you look at that of what it means to be still and know that He is God, well, assess those three areas in your family, in your workplace, and in your personal relationship with Him. And then secondly, how can you adapt? What needs to change? What are you going to allow God to change? What are you going to do that maybe needs to turn the rudder a little bit to move that ship in a little bit different of a direction? I hope this is helpful for you this week, is that we really believe that our habits matter, that our habits can make or break us. And one of the best habits, probably the most important habit we can develop and allow God to develop in us, is a desire to spend time with Him. So I say that. We're glad that you joined us today. Check this out on Facebook and on YouTube. Share it with your friends, family. Make a comment below, as we would love to hear more from you and know how we can pray with you. Have a great week and take care.